So in this video, we're going to talk about the relationships that involve delta A heat reaction. Okay, so the first relationship we're going to look at is if a chemical equation is multiplied by a factor n, okay, delta H is multiplied by the same factor. So let's take a look at this equation. Let's say we have carbon plus oxygen gives us carbon dioxide, and the delta H for this reaction is minus 393.5 kilojoules. Okay, so now if we multiply this equation by 2, okay, so let's go ahead and multiply this with 2, and this equation becomes 2 carbon plus 2 oxygen gives us 2 carbon dioxide. Write that a little better. And as a result of that, the delta H is also going to be multiplied with 2. So 2, so if I take this delta H and I multiply it with 2, I get delta H is equal to minus 787.0 kilojoules. Okay. So the next relationship is if a chemical equation is reversed, the sign of delta H is reversed as well. Okay. So if I take this initial equation out here, we know that this equation is carbon plus oxygen gives us carbon dioxide, delta H is this. Okay, so I'm going to reverse this equation. So if I reverse it, it's going to be CO2 gas gives me C solid plus oxygen gas. Okay, and because I reversed the equation, that delta H is just going to change from negative 393.5 to positive 393.5. So delta H is equal to 393.5 kilojoules. There you have it. Okay, so the third rule out here says if a chemical equation can be expressed as a sum of a series of steps, then delta H reaction for the overall equation is the sum of the heats of reaction for each step. Okay, this is also commonly known as Hess's law. Okay, so sometimes you might come across something that might make a reference to Hess's law. That's Hess's law. Okay, so take for example these two reactions. Carbon plus oxygen gives us CO2, and delta H for this is minus 393.5 kilojoules. Let's call that equation 1. And then let's say we have another chemical equation. Make that 2H2 plus O2 gives me 2H2O, and delta H for this is minus 483.6. Okay, so we have two equations, and what this relationship says, or what Hess's law says, is that if I take these two equations and add them, okay, notice carefully what I'll get. I'll get C solid plus 2H2 gas plus 2O2 gives me CO2 plus 2H2O. What's telling me that if I add these two equations, then I have to add the delta H's for each of them too. So the overall delta H, so let's call it delta H overall, is going to be equal to this plus this, okay, which is going to be equal to minus 877.1 kilojoules. Okay, I hope that made sense.